Hello and welcome to ETHRWorld. My name is Rajesh Barnwal and I'm in conversation with Sankalp Saxena, Senior Vice President and Managing Director Operations, Nutanix. We are going to talk about key learnings from the COVID-19 scenario, the need for upskilling and reskilling the workforce, and how to drive innovations in an organization. Sankalp, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Rajesh. Thank you so much. Looking forward to our conversation.
Great. Sankalp Saxena is a global business leader with over 30 years of experience in the technology sector. He is as comfortable at transforming multinationals as driving startups. In his current role, Sankalp is responsible for shaping and executing the enterprise cloud leaders' short and long-term growth strategy for India. Nutanix recently announced the extension of work from home for its employees until September 2021. So my first question for Sankalp is, what have been the biggest learnings from the COVID-19 scenario?
So Rajesh, great question. 2020 has really been a disruptive year, I think, for all of us. And as leaders, I think there are three things that we need to be proficient in.
Okay.
The first is in dealing with ambiguity. The second is really helping manage change. And the third is really to make sure that we balance the various paradoxes that we see. So if we step back 6 months ago in March, when the pandemic was starting, we had very little information to go on, right? But we knew something was brewing, but nobody had a sense of the magnitude or the timeline of COVID-19 back in March. So at that time, we really took a very strong position. Just look at our employees' health and safety and their best interests, and took a call to institute work from home globally very early in March itself, right? Thereafter, we took a very high degree of empathy to say, we trust that all our employees will do what they need to do in this new normal, as people are calling it. I still like calling it the new abnormal because I don't think this is going to stay with us perpetually. But we looked at trust being the underpinning of how our employees would operate in this new scenario. And that really, Rajesh, has helped us navigate the COVID situation extremely well, not just in India, but in all of our global locations as well.
So how do you prioritize learning and development in an ever-changing world?
So it's a very important thing. Look, we hire some of the most brilliant minds out there. You know, we look for people that live our three core values of being hungry, humble, and honest. So being hungry, we look for that fire in the belly, the appetite to be a pioneer, to be an entrepreneur, to be a founder, right? In humble, we look for people that accept that they have a wealth of knowledge that they can build. Right? So we love to have people leave their egos at the door. They need to embrace learning and be able to adapt to work in that environment. And in honest, we look for people that don't hide behind their failures, but discuss them so we can learn better, not just individually, but collectively as an organization. So in support of that, we have a host of different initiatives that enable our team members to really unleash their true potential. And those are both internal training drivers coupled with external training drivers. So we use LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, all these other tools externally. But more than the technical skill sets, Rajesh, the world we're living in today digitally requires us to be able to collaborate very effectively with peers all over the world, with customers all over the world, with partners all over the world. So we also interlace in our training and development program leadership skills, behavioral skills, right? One of our cultural values is get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I think that speaks a lot because when we step out of our comfort zone as individuals is when we truly have an opportunity to learn and grow. If we stay in our comfort zones, you know, we'll be net neutral. It's like driving a car in neutral. You'll never go forward or backward. You'll just stay where you are. So that's one of our cultural principles that applies in the learning mantra at Nutanix.
So in line with prioritizing learning, why is it so important currently to provide mentorship within the company and externally?
So again, if you look at the minds that we onboard, you know, if you look at our matrix or our pyramid of skill sets, unlike a lot of other organizations, we tend to bring in a lot of new college graduates, right?
Okay.
They're just bursting with energy. They've got a host of ideas, but you need to kind of guide them and coach them to now start building a sense of mastery and purpose or technical depth in the space that we deliver solutions in. So if you look at our functional pyramid, we have a series of deep domain experts in the various areas that we operate in the hybrid cloud infrastructure space, right? Whether it's compute, storage, networking. And I think harnessing the two, that high energy with a sense of purpose and mentorship or a coach, I think really helps people build as individuals and then come together as high performance work teams. It's absolutely essential. So another one of our cultural principles, Rajesh, that ties in with that is we start with the why. So we'd like to have all of our team members understand why is it that we're doing something versus just doing it blindly because you've been told to do so. So that intellectual ability to understand the why behind it is very, very important. And then we couple that up with a bias for action, right? In the tech industry, first mover advantage, innovation, all of those, right, are built on your delivering that disruptive innovation before the rest of the competitors out there do so. So those two work out very well for us. And I think our results are representative of how we've been able to harness those two over time.
Okay. How is Nutanix driving an innovation-focused culture and practices?
Great question. So everybody talks about entrepreneurship, right? And I think if you change a letter or so on that, it becomes intrapreneurship.
Okay.
Right. And Nutanix is an 11-year young company. We started, Dheeraj Pandey and the other founders were true entrepreneurs and pioneers in their own regards. So to your question, how do we keep that spirit alive? Because look, we're not starved for funding. We're not starved for infrastructure, right? So in one sense, we're comfortable, but remember, we like, remaining uncomfortable to a large extent. And that entrepreneurship principle plays out into that. So we love building social tribes, Rajesh, of inventors, right? Being an inventor, being part of that tribe that you've created something that never existed before is a very strong underpinning of our patent program. And patents happen for us globally out of various development centers. And there's active collaboration across teams, right? Very important underpinning of that. The other one is, this is our 7th year that we've been running a very strong hackathon. And you see teams come together and they come up with identities for their team and the energy is a buzz and people are, awake for 24 to 36 hours. That energy and that vibe is very important to tap into. In fact, one of our most successful products, Flow, came out of an idea that was presented at a hackathon. So continuing that rhythm, Rajesh, I think has helped us really harness and tap into the minds that we hire and drive the principle of entrepreneurship to market very rapidly.
So as the managing director of Nutanix, what are your expectations from the company's HR head?
So we have 4 key strategies in Nutanix India. One is great minds, right? How do we attract the best talent? Second is diversity and inclusiveness, right? So once we've attracted the best talent, how do we make sure that they're part and parcel of the Nutanix journey and family? The third is imbibing innovation, right? So unleashing the potential, and we talked about entrepreneurship. And the fourth is something that's very near and dear to us, which is .heart, which is giving back in each of the societies and communities that we live in, right? So we don't lose the ethos of us as humans being able to help other humans out in that moment. So from the HR team, I think it starts in one sense at the life cycle of identifying that talent, right? Getting them engaged to understand all of what Nutanix has done and how they could add value in that journey. So my expectation of my HR heads across the various functions is to create that sense of hunger for somebody to say it's not just about a paycheck. The paycheck you can get in many different places. It's what is your DNA? Can you be part of that, inventor tribe with us, right? Can you assimilate in our DNA? Can you move with velocity? Can you think at the speed of thought? Can you run with the rest of your peers? That excitement, Rajesh, in driving something disruptive as you know, we have done as pioneers in the hyperconverged infrastructure space, and now what we're doing with hybrid cloud is something that the HR team needs to be able to be brand ambassadors, or better yet, evangelists for. For us, I think Nutanix is a religion, right? Because we believe there's a vast opportunity ahead of us to really drive positive impact for our customers, for our partners, for our employees, right? And I think I look for our HR heads to be evangelists in that regard, in making sure that the candidates understand who we are, what our mission is, and how they can participate in a meaningful manner in that journey.
Okay.
That's a big ask, Rajesh. It's a big ask.
I understand. I am going to ask something else. So how important it is for HR leaders to align themselves with the overall business goals of the organization?
I think it's very important for them to walk in those shoes. So if you look at our people business partners, for example, we've got a wonderful team led by a very strong and capable woman, Rami Menon, very strong person, right? And they need to walk in those shoes and not just understanding kind of what it is that we're looking at from a talent acquisition perspective, but downstream from there, to your earlier question, how do we grow them as individuals? How do we make sure they fit, right? And for us, you know, one of our, again, diversity and inclusiveness is talked about a lot in the industry, but, you know, there was a great quote by Verna Myers that said, diversity is being invited to the party, inclusiveness is being asked to dance. And our people business partners need to make sure beyond onboarding strong talent, they get asked to be for a dance in their respective teams, so they truly feel that they can have, you know, a place at the table. It isn't about title or designation or time and role. It's really about having the confidence or the backbone, in one sense, to disagree if you have a difference of opinion. But once a decision is taken, to commit to that decision as a team and to drive to it. So we encourage, you know, active kind of discussion and debate. But a decision is taken, then everybody rallies around that, Rajesh. It's an important principle for us as a company.
Okay, what was the most difficult decision that you had to take in the last 9 months?
I'll actually turn that around. It might appear like a difficult decision. The fact that you started the discussion off with that, the fact that we're one of the few companies that have extended our work from home out by a year to September 2021. We took that decision a while back. And I think a lot of organizations would struggle with that. You know, organizations said we'll open in June and then we'll open in September. And now some people are thinking about December or January. I intrinsically trust and believe in all of our team members. With that trust, that decision, Rajesh, for me was a very easy one. Because the employees for us truly are our most valuable players or our most valuable assets in this journey, right? I have no reason to distrust any of them. So giving them a 1-year window, right, to decide what made sense for them. And I'll share with you, around 37 to 40% of our employees have gone home, right? Which is home is in a city outside of our operating office locations, right? And that peace of mind was very important in this current context. There was anxiety on the family side. It's not just the employee, it could be one of their family members, right? Why create that anxiety, right? So for me, it was a very easy decision, with trust being the underpinning of what we see in each and every one of our employees. And trust is something that is earned, it's not entitled, right? And we've been fortunate that none of our employees have let down that trust. That sense of autonomy, that sense of empowerment, Rajesh, has in fact helped all of our employees be far more productive today, one can argue, right? Than being in the city, away from their loved ones, with all of that anxiety, the rapid spread of the virus, right? So it was actually a very easy decision. I know I'm not directly answering your question, but what appeared to be a tough decision was a very easy one for us to take. And I think it's the right decision. And Rajesh, even if we open before September 2021, now that we have so many different vaccines out there and everybody's got a 95+% efficacy, which is brilliant from a scientific perspective, even if we open earlier than September 2021, our commitment to our employees is You don't need to come back before that, right?
Okay.
If you'd like to, you're free to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And even when they come back, we're looking at the optionality of giving people the flexibility of coming into work, let's say 2 days of a week or 3 days of a week, right? So this is going to be our new normal, a hybrid work culture that keeps the employee centricity at the center of the radar, and everything else follows, right? Without trust, none of this would be possible, Rajesh. We'd always be doubting our employees and second guessing them and asking them to be on Zoom calls where we can monitor them. My God, none of that is required, because mastery, purpose, autonomy, empowerment go a long way, right? And we've benefited by that immensely.
So that's all from my side, unless you would like to add something.
So Rajesh, I think I'll give you one example.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do, I mentioned the bias for action is one of our drivers, right?
Right.
And I think ultimately technology for the sake of technology is not what we're all about. It's technology for shaping outcomes. And we've seen massive adoption. In one sense, the pandemic has opened our eyes to what can be done remotely, right? How do we collaborate remotely, not just in engineering R&D capabilities, but in the selling rhythm, for example, where normally customers would meet face-to-face, so on and so forth. And I'll share with you a very heartwarming example. And one of our customers wrote this for us. And it's a major hospital in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And using our technology, Rajesh, neonatal unit of that hospital really went through and did a seamless upgrade of their fetal monitoring system just midday. There was no reason to shut down. Now you can imagine neonatal fetal monitoring is a very critical function.
Yep.
And in a hospital, you can't say, let me take my systems down for 6 hours or 8 hours and we'll see what happens, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That it just came through, and they applauded us for enabling that to happen, right? And we talk about it being frictionless and it being invisible. It was business as usual for them, while the fetal cluster was patched and brought back up without any interruption. And those stories, Rajesh, I think, are what inspire all of us to continue to push the technology envelope, to continue to encourage our team members to do so as well. Because if technology doesn't touch people in a way that it creates value for them, one can argue what's the use of technology for the sake of technology, right? So that one example, and it's just fresh in my mind because that win alert just came through today, I think really touched a lot of us in reinvigorating us to make sure that we stay tenacious, we stay focused, and we continue to have a bias for action in delivering such solutions to the marketplace. And that's what makes all of the Nutanix team members great Newtons, as we call each other, right? And therein lies our inspiration, Rajesh. And hopefully we continue that the years to come.
True. So, well, Sankalp, that was very fruitful. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with ETHRWorld. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. That was Sankalp Saxena. Thank you so much for watching ETHRWorld. Stay connected with ETHRWorld for a comprehensive insight on everything that matters in the HR world.